The sun-drenched French Riviera, a glittering coastline synonymous with luxury and creativity, plays host to the annual Cannes Lions Festival. This prestigious event draws the biggest names in advertising, marketing, and media from across the globe. Usually, Cannes is a playground for creative deal-making, a place where partnerships are forged, innovative campaigns are launched, and the future of advertising is shaped over champagne-fueled lunches and sunset cocktail hours. It's a hub of collaboration and forward-thinking strategies. But this year, the idyllic setting became the stage for a very public and very tense corporate showdown, a clash that exposed raw nerves and simmering conflicts within the industry. At the Cannes Lions Festival, amidst the glittering parties and award ceremonies, a storm was brewing. Linda Yaccarino, the CEO of X, formerly known as Twitter, found herself in a direct and highly publicized confrontation with the Wall Street Journal. The tension was palpable, the stakes were high, and the entire industry watched with bated breath. This wasn't just a minor disagreement, it was a stark exposure of the deep rifts and growing animosity between tech platforms, the advertising agencies that rely on them, and the media organizations that report on them. The very foundations of their relationships were being shaken. The journal had just published a bombshell report, an exposé that sent shockwaves through the industry and directly challenged the practices of X. X, under the leadership of Yaccarino and the controversial ownership of Elon Musk, was facing serious allegations. The report alleged that X had threatened major brands with lawsuits, using legal pressure as a tactic to force them into purchasing advertising on the platform. This aggressive approach raised serious ethical questions and sparked outrage among advertisers. Instead of engaging in the usual behind-closed-doors private negotiations and damage control, the dispute erupted in a very public and dramatic fashion, playing out for all to see and dissect. This unprecedented public spat signaled a new, more combative era for the advertising industry, where traditional norms of diplomacy and discretion were being cast aside in favor of open warfare. Yaccarino, clearly feeling the pressure, took to the stage at Cannes, a high-profile platform, to directly attack the credibility and integrity of the Wall Street Journal, attempting to discredit their reporting and defend her company's actions. But the journal's editor didn't back down. They fired back with a strong defense of their reporting, accusing X of employing tactics of gaslighting and manipulation in an attempt to silence critical press coverage and control the narrative. The entire spectacle forced the advertising industry, gathered at Cannes, to confront a much bigger and more fundamental question about the power dynamics at play. Who ultimately controls the narrative in this rapidly evolving media landscape? In a world where tech platforms, advertising agencies, and media organizations are increasingly at odds, who decides what is true and how the story is told? The Cannes clash was far more than just a petty spat between a tech CEO and a media outlet. It represented the culmination of years of mounting tension and distrust, particularly since Elon Musk's controversial takeover of Twitter and its subsequent transformation into X. It was a very public and high-stakes battle for control over the flow of information, the definition of truth, and the very future of press freedom in the digital age. Linda Yaccarino didn't hold back at Cannes. On stage, she dismissed the Wall Street Journal's report, mocking its relevance and attacking its reliance on anonymous sources. She painted the journal as outdated, its reporting as gossip, and its motives as politically biased. Yaccarino reframed X as a victim of a coordinated campaign by biased ad coalitions, invoking government probes and congressional reports to bolster her case. Her message was clear: X would not be cowed by negative press, but would fight back, publicly and aggressively. This marked a sharp break from her past as an industry insider, signaling that under her leadership, X would meet criticism with confrontation. The warning to the media and ad world was unmistakable. Challenging X now means bracing for a public brawl. The Wall Street Journal's report was damning, a meticulously researched piece of investigative journalism that sent shockwaves through the advertising world and beyond. It wasn't just a fleeting headline, it was a deep dive into the alleged practices at X, painting a picture that many found deeply troubling. It alleged that Musk and Yaccarino personally pressured major advertisers, leveraging their positions and influence in ways that raised serious ethical questions. The report suggested a coordinated effort to squeeze revenue from these companies, regardless of the potential damage to long-term relationships. Like Verizon, a telecommunications giant with a long history of advertising on various platforms, and Ralph Lauren, the iconic fashion brand synonymous with luxury and sophistication. These weren't small, struggling businesses, they were established, reputable companies with significant advertising budgets, with threats of lawsuits if they didn't spend on X. The journal claimed these weren't idle threats, but serious legal actions that could have significant financial and reputational consequences for the targeted companies. This went far beyond tough sales tactics. It wasn't just about negotiating better rates or highlighting the platform's potential. It was about using legal threats as leverage, a tactic that many considered to be highly unethical and potentially illegal. The journal cited over 24 sources, including current and former employees of both X and the advertising agencies involved, painting a picture of a company struggling to maintain its revenue streams in the face of declining user engagement and advertiser hesitancy, desperate enough to strong-arm its own clients, resorting to aggressive and potentially unlawful tactics to secure advertising dollars. For at least 6 brands, the pressure worked, highlighting the power dynamics at play and the vulnerability of even the largest corporations to such tactics. They signed deals under threat, agreements that they might not have otherwise entered into, raising questions about the legitimacy of those partnerships. The story shook the industry, forcing advertisers to reevaluate their relationships with X and consider the ethical implications of supporting a platform accused of such behavior, suggesting X's leadership was complicit, if not directly involved, in these alleged coercive practices, in tactics that undermine trust and partnership, the very foundation of the advertising ecosystem. The report's detail and breadth made it hard to dismiss, even for those who might have been inclined to defend X or downplay the allegations, implicating not just Musk, the controversial owner known for his unconventional management style, but Yaccarino, the supposed bridge to advertisers, the executive brought in to repair relationships and restore confidence in the platform. The fallout, a narrative of desperation and broken trust, a stark contrast to the image X had been trying to project. At the heart of X's business, raising fundamental questions about its long-term viability and its relationship with the advertising community. The Wall Street Journal stood its ground. Editor-in-chief Emma Tucker, present at Cannes, called out Yaccarino's attacks as part of a disturbing trend, powerful CEOs trying to gaslight the press. Tucker countered jabs about the journal's relevance by citing its millions of subscribers and financial strength. The journal's message, their reporting is factual, vetted, and won't bend to pressure from the powerful. A spokesperson reinforced this, emphasizing the story's solid sourcing and the public's right to know. For the journal, this was about accountability. For X, it was a hostile attack. The standoff underscored the press's role as watchdog and its refusal to be intimidated. The message to the business world: the journal stands by its reporting no matter the backlash. Legal threats aren't new for X. They've become almost commonplace, a recurring theme in the company's operations. It's a strategy that seems to be deeply ingrained in their approach to dealing with criticism and dissent. They're part of Musk's playbook, a well-documented and frequently used tactic in his business dealings. This approach isn't just reactive, it appears to be a proactive measure, shaping the narrative and controlling the discourse around the company. Since acquiring X, Musk has used litigation as a weapon, wielding the legal system as a tool to achieve specific business objectives. It's a strategy that goes beyond simply defending the company. It's about actively shaping the landscape in which X operates, against critics, those who dare to question or challenge the company's actions or policies. Watchdogs, the organizations and individuals dedicated to holding powerful entities accountable. And even industry groups, organizations that one might expect to be allies, but who find themselves in the crosshairs of X's legal strategy. In 2024, X sued the World Federation of Advertisers, a move that sent shockwaves through the advertising world, accusing it of cartel-like boycotts, alleging a coordinated effort to harm the company's revenue streams, and forced the end of the GARM initiative, a significant blow to efforts to establish common standards for brand safety in online advertising. X has also targeted nonprofits and researchers, organizations dedicated to public service and the pursuit of knowledge, with lawsuits, initiating legal action that can be both costly and time-consuming for these organizations to defend, aiming to silence criticism, to stifle dissenting voices and control the narrative surrounding the company, and shape public perception, to influence how the company is viewed by the public and its stakeholders. This aggressive legal strategy, characterized by its frequency and scope, makes the journal's allegations of threats, of potential legal action against advertisers all the more plausible, adding weight to concerns about the company's tactics. For X, lawsuits are not a last resort, not a measure taken only when all other options have been exhausted. They're a tool to intimidate, control, a means of exerting power and influence over its critics and competitors, and deter dissent, to discourage others from speaking out against the company or challenging its actions. The result? A chilling effect on critics, a climate of fear and self-censorship that can stifle open debate and critical analysis, and a warning to anyone who challenges the company, a clear message that dissent will not be tolerated and will be met with swift and decisive action. In Musk's X, under his leadership and vision for the company, every disagreement risks becoming a legal battle, a potentially costly and time-consuming ordeal that can have a chilling effect on free speech and open debate. X's aggressive tactics are rooted in financial crisis. After Musk's takeover, advertisers fled, alarmed by content moderation changes and Musk's unpredictable behavior. Brand safety fears drove a mass exodus, and Musk's public outbursts only deepened the rift. Linda Yaccarino was brought in to repair relationships, but her efforts were repeatedly undermined by new controversies. The journal's report suggests that when charm failed, X turned to coercion. The company's struggle balancing its free speech ambitions with advertisers' need for safety and predictability. The Cannes feud exposed this unresolved conflict, with X caught between its ideals and its financial survival. The turbulence continues, with trust and revenue still hanging in the balance. The X-Journal clash tapped into a wider debate about the ad industry's power and politics. Critics argue that brand safety protocols run by industry groups amount to political censorship, especially against conservatives. A 2024 House report accused ad coalitions of acting as a cartel to demonetize right-leaning voices. Musk and Yaccarino seized on this, framing their fight as a stand against bias, not just a business dispute. The feud became a proxy battle in a larger culture war over free speech, censorship, and corporate influence. The journal's story was about business tactics, but X's response turned it into a fight over ideology and control. The Cannes confrontation blurred the line between PR and information warfare. Tucker accused Yaccarino of gaslighting, manipulating reality to discredit journalism. X, in turn, claimed the journal was part of a biased media campaign, hiding behind anonymous sources. The result, two irreconcilable narratives, each side accusing the other of deception. For the public, truth becomes a matter of allegiance, not evidence. In this new era, facts are weaponized, and the casualty is the public's ability to know what's real. The Cannes spectacle revealed a new reality. The old rules between tech, media, and advertisers are gone. Open hostility, public callouts, and legal threats have replaced professional respect. Advertisers now face a dilemma: risk their brands on X or risk legal retaliation for pulling out. For the media, the fight is about defending journalistic integrity against coordinated attacks. The power dynamic is shifting, tech platforms are embattled, advertisers are wary, and the press is under siege. The future will be defined by uneasy truces, public skirmishes, and constant renegotiation. In this new era, everyone is armed and no one is backing down.